Hi everyone. We're going to go ahead and start with the webinar. We're going to be talking about a little bit about fad diets, weight loss, and weight management, and how the effects of fad diets are on your body, what happens with following those type of plans, and then finding how to get to the actual weight loss and weight management and finding that balance and what it's about. And just remember to stick with us until the end of the presentation too. I'm gonna ask you a question and see whoever gives me the answer to it, and I'm gonna get a gift card from Body Tracks for $50. So just remember to stay with me till the end and see if you can answer that question. Thank you. So what is a fad diet? Fad diets are simply what they imply, what their name implies. They're short-term fixes, and actually they'll end up setting up many dieters up for weight loss failure, actually. So if you've ever tried a weight loss or a fad diet, you know that probably that you lost a little bit of weight on it or a lot of weight, and then maybe didn't really teach you much about nutrition or a healthy lifestyle plan, and it was just that a quick fix, as eventually most people end up gaining the weight back, unfortunately. So with fad diets are pretty much just a quick fix. So when you're looking at a diet plan or a weight loss program and you're wanting to know whether or not it is just that, a fad diet, some of the red flags that you can look for is something that promises more than 2 pounds or more a week of weight loss without a balanced diet or exercise. You'll see some programs that say, hey, you don't have to do anything and lose 2 pounds a week or lose 7 pounds in 3 days. So just too much in too little time, that's a red flag. Substantial weight loss no matter what or how much you eat. Permanent weight loss, there's really no such thing as permanent weight loss. Blocking absorption of fat or calories. Substantial weight loss for all users, meaning everyone, someone who is even significantly underweight. They try to promise that. Substantial weight loss by rubbing something on your body. I'm sure we've all heard of cellulite creams or caffeine rubs that stimulate fat loss. So those are just a few things that will, right off the bat, will help you to see the red flags in something, that it may not be the best program for you to follow. So types of fad diets. Another way to distinguish between that and a healthy eating plan. Severe calorie restriction. You'll see some programs that possibly will drop you down to maybe 500 calories or even 1,000 calories. So that's a severe calorie restriction. Restricts many foods or food groups. So in my own personal opinion, there are no bad foods except for maybe trans fats, but other than that, anything and everything in moderation. And again, you'll probably hear me say that 100 times by the time I'm done with the webinar, but anything and everything in moderation. Any type of diet program that requires you to use special foods, drinks, or supplements. So that's another way of seeing red flags also, and it's another type of fad diet, like maybe Slim Fast, or there's some other ones like Calorat, that's an old one, or cabbage soup diet, something like that. and also doesn't teach you about healthy diet, lifestyle changes, and anything in order to sustain the weight loss. So once you've lost the weight, if they're not teaching you about nutrition and teaching you about how your body uses the food, there's a high, percentage that you'll gain the weight back. So I like to talk about a few of the fad diets that are really popular, but one of the ones that I like to talk about the most is, or like to refer to most, is diet programs that use the glycemic index. So the glycemic index is somewhat appropriate for certain situations, but for the general population, it's not necessarily the best program to follow. The glycemic index uses its index to identify foods as good or bad. Again, you'll hear me say that often. There's no such thing as good and bad. Everything in moderation. And then also the restrictions go a little far. So some of the restrictions in glycemic programs, they'll exclude things or call things no-nos, like the carrots, pineapples, bananas, watermelon. Those things are considered no-nos. Now, for some, sometimes people refer to these as high sugar or mostly high sugar foods, and that's not exactly what's going on with these type of foods. So they're not added sugar, so it's not something you necessarily need to avoid. So with a glycemic index, it puts too much limitations that aren't necessarily accurate on foods. They restrict too many different kinds of carbohydrates, and there is a plus side to the glycemic index. They do encourage the consumption of fruits and vegetables and legumes and your unrefined grains, whole wheat, breads, and brown rice, which can help with weight loss, but the measurements do not line up. So an example of glycemic index, again, remember this is a fad diet, so your low GI or glycemic index, 55 or less would be the number. If you know anything about the glycemic index, they give you a range of what are high glycemic, low glycemic, and then they have a medium for things that you want to avoid, as far as they want you to avoid high glycemic. So with your low glycemic would be most fruits and vegetables, except potatoes and watermelon and sweet corn, which are the ones that we've always been warned about, right? But there's a lot of myth to that. So you have your whole grains, your beans and lentils will be your low GI. Medium GI, which is sucrose, croissant, and certain types of rice. So now keep in mind there, I want you to look at that. Medium GI, so things that you probably should have in moderation, right? The high ones are rarely, and the low ones you should consume most days, mostly throughout your day. But that medium GI, sucrose. Now, sucrose is table sugar, so I want you to look at that. Sucrose is put on the same range as brown rice and a croissant. So then you have high glycemic index, cornflakes, baked potato, some white rice, white bread, pasta, and candy bar. Now, if you look at this, there is absolutely no comparison between a baked potato and a candy bar. So again, I want us to look at that and think that glycemic index has been one of those, if you just follow the glycemic index diet and nothing, not even referring to other diets that use the glycemic index. But that in itself should show you that this is an accurate nutrition information. For a potato and a candy bar to be put in the same category as sugar, table sugar, and brown rice to be put in the same category. So they, as far as the sugar and insulin spike and all that, that's a different a different topic, which we can always discuss. You can ask me questions about that, and I do encourage you to ask questions. But nutrient density and calorically, there are no match. There are no comparisons there. What a potato has as far as vitamins and minerals and what a candy bar has are two entirely different things. So there's really no way to compare them. So I said that I wanted to talk about, fad diets and then some of the harmful side effects of fad diets. And it should be a little bit of a fear factor, kind of poking at it, if you will. You've seen that because we don't see the inside of our bodies, it's hard for us to realize what we're actually doing to them by not eating healthy and not following a healthy lifestyle, exercising, and, keeping our stress level low, which is hard to do. But all of these things affect your body. So when it comes to fad diets, which usually follows, if you follow suit with a fad diet, you're doing calorie restriction for the most part. So you're probably falling underneath 1,200 calories, 1,500 calories, but lower than 1,200 calories is 100% restriction, if not starvation. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of how these affect your body as far as what's listed here. So heart disease. Now, we usually think overeating and obesity with heart disease. Well, what is calorie restriction? How does a fad diet affect your heart? So there are several ways, but one of them with talking about restriction is that electrolytes, if you're familiar with those, they're your minerals like sodium and potassium, magnesium and calcium that allow your heart to beat properly. If you are on a fad diet and you're on restriction, sometimes you're not getting the necessary amount of those. And then if you come off of the diet plan and you start to regain all of your weight back, can you imagine that with weight loss, it's not always fat loss. It's usually tissue and some fat. So if you are gaining weight back, you're not gaining muscle back. You're gaining back fat. So if you gain that 20 pounds back, and this time it's 20 pounds of fat, where before it was 20 pounds of muscle or tissue and fat, mostly fat, of course, this is hard on your heart. You technically are heavier. So this can be really hard on your heart. With high blood pressure, so high blood pressure increases your risk of atherosclerosis, or your hardening of arteries. High blood pressure is the second leading cause of kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, which leads to failure, and it's just, of course, diabetes is number one. So it can lead to kidney failure at high blood pressure. And the reason that fad diet would lead to high blood pressure is what? Prepackaged foods, an increase of sodium intake. So another one's fatigue. If you aren't, there's several reasons why that a fad diet would affect you as far as how much energy you're having. One would be, of course, calorie reduction or cutting calories. The other would be because, or some other ones, one of the other one would be because iron helps to carry oxygen throughout your blood, and a deficiency in iron can cause weakness and fatigue. So you would feel tired. Nutrient deficiencies, so we don't really think about that because, again, we don't see the inside of our bodies, so we don't really know what's going on until the damage is done, and we get to the doctor and like, why is this happening? So nutrient deficiencies, your body cannot store many of your minerals and vitamins. Some it can, and it needs to consume these every day. That's when we talk about multivitamins, your MBIs. Every day you want to take a multivitamin. So it needs to consume these every day in order to work properly for every one of the pathways in your body that your body continuously runs without asking you or letting you know. It needs the vitamins and minerals to do so. You know, and a deficiency, and this can have harmful side effects. Just a few of these would be thiamine. So thiamine, if you have a low level of thiamine, that is B1, vitamin B1. It can lead to an impaired mental state, give you that fogginess in the brain constantly. You could have a deficiency in zinc, which can lead to diarrhea or dermatitis, like eczema. Again, with anemia, so that can be a deficiency in iron or well, it is a low level, blood level of iron, but it can be a deficiency of that, B12 or folate intakes. And then you have muscle weakening. So with your muscle weakening, now you have to think about that with a fad diet. If you have if you are not eating the proper amount of nutrients, but yet you're working out and lifting weights or running or doing a lot of cardio, and you aren't supplying your body with enough nourishment, then the soreness, the damage that you've done to your muscles in a way that you're trying to improve your metabolism actually can end up slowing you down. You can end up with tears that don't repair as quickly as they should or as fast as they should, and then end up with real injuries. Your brain, of course, works off of glucose, so it works off of carbohydrates. So again, you can end up with that fogginess in your brain if you the fogginess in your brain if you're not supplying your body with carbohydrates, right? So constipation, dietitians love to talk about poop, I always say, but it always seems to lead to that. So constipation, again, you know, if you're following a fad diet, and I'll use Atkins for example, if it's solely proteins and fats, where's your fiber? You know, what's going to happen there? And then an increase in constipation can increase your risk in colon cancer. Bone loss, that's another one for, you know, lack of calcium in your diet, vitamin D, and then also just a lack of overall nutrients. Your body is looking for those nutrients. So where is it going to get it from? It's going to get it from you. So it's going to leach it from your bones, and that's not necessarily something that you can repair. I talk about your psyche, so your emotions, just like your overall well-being. You are your own coach, your emotional coach, right? And if you have like a good support team with anything that you're working on as far as weight loss or whatever your goals are, if you are deprived, so let's just think if you're fatigued and you have foggy brain, you feel weak because you've been working out so much, and you're not eating properly and filling your body, it's hard to stay emotionally fit as well. It's hard to keep yourself encouraged, and then, you know, ends up being like a talking down to self, and then ends up with body image issues, more so or greater ones than you may have already have. The depression and anxiety kind of go together a little bit. They can be separate in themselves, but sometimes they couple. Depression and anxiety can stem from lack of nutrition. Your body will consider itself in a state of stress and release of cortisol because of starvation. And we think starvation, we think third world country, right? And haven't eaten for a while. Your body would consider starvation after several hours of not fueling. So you have a release of cortisol, your lack of dopamine and serotonin from your gut brain. So your body is responding to you not fueling in negative ways, but it's also its defense mechanism. It's trying to get you to eat. So if you have any questions, just, you know, feel free to ask. So a simple equation weight loss can be reduced to a simple equation that is calories in versus calories out. Now, what does that mean? It's often misinterpreted, but I'm going to explain it to you today. So basically that equation is it means for you to have a healthy lifestyle, and that is all about balance. So it doesn't mean that 100% that if you eat, we'll just use big numbers. So let's say you ate 20,000 calories. So that doesn't mean that, oh my goodness, I ate 20,000 calories a day, I need to go to Body Track and hop on some cardio equipment and just bust it out until I burn 20,000 calories. So it doesn't mean calories in versus calories out in that way. It's often misunderstood. It is often thought that whatever I eat is also what I need to burn. Not necessarily the truth. So energy intake versus energy output. So energy intake is the food that basically calories that you take in and macronutrients, meaning the carbohydrates, fat, and protein, which are your macronutrients. And then energy output is physical activity, your food processing that's going on in your body, and basic body functions. So let's take a look at that number one there, the first little bullet under energy output, physical activity. So physical activity is an addition to your basic body function. So if you have a baseline that your body needs to meet, we'll just say 1,500 calories. That's what your body needs for the day. Your baseline metabolic rate needs, 1,500 calories. And you add to that physical activity, then you need to compensate in food and calories and caloric intake, whatever you burned in that too, to give your body a baseline of balance. Keep in mind you're trying to balance your energy. So whatever you put out, you put in. If not, then if your baseline is 15 and you're only eating 1,500 calories, and your baseline is 1,500 calories, then you've eaten enough to cover your basic body functions. So for you to listen to me right now, for you to think about it, for you to write it down, for you to walk to your car, brush your teeth, get up in the morning and shower, whatever it is, those are your basic body functions, like just your everyday functions, and then of course what's going on in your body, like breathing and kidneys functioning, heart beating, blinking, that sort of thing. And you add to it physical activity, then you need to increase your intake. Just what you burn. So you got to keep your body trusting you. So it trusts you to keep giving it the right amount of energy. If you do that and you have excess body fat, and you keep giving it that consistent amount, then your body will let go of excess body fat. That's how weight loss works. It is not from deprivation or starvation. So here are some key concepts about energy, and I just want to, talk about those just a minute, just to give you some background and just so you understand what's being talked about. So, the two that I'm going to focus on the most right now are hunger and appetite. So, the hunger is a physiological drive to eat. And appetite is the psychological urge to eat. And it often has no relation to hunger. For the most part, it doesn't have any relationship to hunger. So appetite, kind of like cravings, that sort of thing. But hunger, that's your body telling you that it needs food. But keep in mind that these two go hand in hand, though. So internal cues that regulate energy intake, you can just kind of look at this for a minute. I want to throw this in here so you can understand what's going on when your body is signaling you to eat. So you're growing hungry. Your hunger pains start getting a little more intense. Your body is signaling you like, come on girl, or come on guy, let's eat, And so then you get you eat and then you get the feeling that you're satisfied, I'm full, and then you continue to be satisfied between meals, and then a little while later you start to feel that, I'm starting to feel hungry a little bit. And this is how your body starts to, the internal cues regulate your energy intake. And I call, or you often hear people talk about mindful eating and intuitive eating, and this has a lot to do, this is it basically, is for you to pay attention to your body when you're hungry, and how often, you know, when was the last time you've eaten, and how much you're actually eating versus what you need. And it takes time to get to that point. When we did that as toddlers, you see toddlers like take a bite of cookie and just leave it somewhere and just kind of run off. They didn't want it, so they're good, you know. But it takes time to get back to that point of mindful and intuitive eating. So what's a healthy diet and lifestyle? I put a bunch of little pictures up here because it kind of makes me think of like what my life is like as far as working out, relaxing, eating all kinds of stuff. I didn't put cupcakes on there. I left that one off, but I probably should have put a cupcake up there. Friends and patience, lots of rest, and just a good balance. You know, I'd also throw in some vacation time, but you need to have a balance to have a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet. So a healthy, effective diet. Since we've talked about and we've established patterns that undermine a healthy diet as far as fad diets and what it can do to your body, let's take a look at what supports a healthy diet and healthy lifestyle. So in order to do this, I put choosemyplate.gov up here, which is a very user-friendly website. It's very easy to look at and follow, and it will give you a lot of good baseline information. And I really push people to look at that. It's very simple, and I think that it's very helpful too. So healthy eating, effective diet does not require fasting, focuses on fiber, encourages physical activity, promotes long-term results, doesn't cause chronic hunger, and won't eliminate food groups or have rules about combining food. So this is something to look for. If you see a program that you're kind of like, I'm not sure if that is a fad diet or an actual program that will help me, then take a look and see if it has most of these things there, and it's not really doing any type of the red flag situation. So prescription for a lifestyle should be healthy lifestyle. Your prescription is, and you'll see this a lot, and if you look at my plate, you'll see it there as well. And this is just, you know, start off your basics. So you exercise most days of the week, and exercise doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go for a long run or go lift weights. It means that you need to focus 30 minutes of your time being active. And then if you're not at 30 minutes, work your way up, but most days of the week. If you are not to the point for 30 minutes a day at one time, then break it up throughout the day. That's fine. That's, you know, everyone has to start somewhere, and nobody started out just running a marathon. So, you know, work your way up to it, break it up through the day. I like to put on there the side effects of this is possibly weight loss and increased muscle mass, denser bones, and a healthy heart. So, and I also want to stress that you don't want to do more than you're going to do for the rest of your life. You know, you often hear people doing 2 a day, like stressing out about it. Now, there's some people that work out for an hour in the morning. Maybe that's their actual exercise, and then in the evening they're doing something they don't really consider exercise. Like maybe they dance, or maybe they actually fight, they're a kickboxer or something, and that to them is not really their exercise. That's something that they do all the time. That's maybe their lifestyle. So you know, you just have to keep in mind that that's a different type of lifestyle. So the USDA recommendations, you'll find in myplate.gov, and then these are the guidelines for the most part. What's a healthy diet? So the USDA recommends that their dietary guidelines describe a healthy diet as one that emphasizes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, fat-free or low-fat, dairy, and milk products. So this also includes lean meats, poultry, fish, beans, eggs, and nuts. And then also low in saturated fats, trans fats, cholesterol, salt, which is sodium, and added sugars. Let's talk about these for just a second. This is probably not new information to you, right? You want something new. So I want to explain these things to you. Why is this the guideline? Why are these the things that I need for a healthy diet? So whole grains, what do? Whole grains help to pull out saturated fats. Mainly they're stocked with vitamins and minerals. For the most part, they're fortified if you get breads or cereals. And then the fiber that is with the fruits and vegetables and fat help to act a little bit as a sponge for cholesterol, saturated fat. Then you have your lean meats. Of course, you're not taking in extra saturated fat, poultry, fish, with your extra omegas that help with your heart. Then beans, eggs, and nuts. When it means low in saturated fat, it's just what I said before. So it doesn't mean that you can't have fried chicken from KFC. It doesn't mean that you can't have French fries. It just simply means that those type of things need to be in moderation because they're not necessarily the healthiest thing to eat. Doesn't mean that you can't have it. Doesn't mean you can't have it weekly. It just means you probably shouldn't have it every day. Cholesterol. Keep in mind that low in cholesterol doesn't usually when something is high in cholesterol, it's high in saturated fat. So that's mainly what this means. It doesn't mean that if you eat something that's high in cholesterol that it's going to cause your cholesterol to rise. Your intake of cholesterol does not affect your cholesterol in your body. So that's the common misconception. Salt, remember you want to keep your salt a little on the lower side. If you get fresh fruits and vegetables and you stay on the border mostly of the grocery store, you'll stay away from a lot of salt and added sugars. And don't be scared of sugar. I like saying cupcakes, so you can eat cupcakes. It's the added sugar that's the little devil here. And the added sugar means that we have a lot of food that has sugar in it, that we add. There's sugar in our ketchup, there's sugar in salad dressings. There's a lot of added sugar. But you need to read the ingredients on your labels when you're looking for sugar. It needs to be in the ingredients, because you can take a bag of oranges and read the nutrition fact label on there and you'll see carbohydrates, and underneath carbohydrates you'll see sugars. Now, is there any added sugars in an orange? No. But if you get the orange juice and you look, it's going to have almost the same nutrients on it, and then possibly added sugar in it. So just make sure that if you're looking for added sugar, you're looking in the ingredients. So the USDA recommendations for a healthy diet for an average American is 2,000 to 2,500 calories, 270 grams of carbs, 60 grams of fat. Your sodium is 2,300 milligrams, and added sugar is 32 grams. And this is something to look at and compare it to what you're eating and see where you are. A lot of people are like, well, 2,000 calories is too much. Possibly for, we'll say, an average woman who is probably 40, 5'4", and 150 pounds, and moderate, activity level. Probably somewhere between 1,600 and 1,800 calories would be what she would be eating. Moderate meaning most days 30 to 45 minutes of exercise. So yeah, this isn't for everybody. It's to hit a grand population for everyone, because this is what they go off of as far as what's on your nutrition facts label. So, to find a more individualized program, you'd want to talk to a dietitian or a nutrition professional that can give you that information. But other than that, this is a good way to compare what you're eating. If you're significantly under this or significantly over, maybe you want to adjust where you are as far as in your eating plan. So creating healthy habits, this is a huge part of having a healthy lifestyle. So you want to make sure that you can identify triggers and cues that lead you to unhealthy habits, review strategies for healthy habits. You want to discuss, you want to talk about like your support system so that you can have a healthy home with, you know, if you have someone that lives with you or roommates or husband, wife, what have you. So you want to make sure that that you have a healthy environment so that you can adopt those healthy habits. So I want you to ask yourself these questions always. You know, it keeps you focused and challenged, and also will give you some give you that little bit of a pat on the back that you need. So, you know, make sure that what are your triggers and what are your cues that cause you to make unhealthy choices? What are some challenges for you, and to work on those? Who is in your support system? Who can be part of your support system, and who already is? Make sure they're positive too. And what helps you succeed? So maybe some type of reward system that doesn't include food, and maybe a pedicure, maybe some time on the golf course, but find what helps you succeed. So common triggers, you know, you want to know that I put up some things up there that kind of like are often what happens, like the food on the coworker's desk, or I have to have popcorn every time I go to the movies. What size popcorn are you getting? Is it having to walk in and just sit down on the couch and turn on the TV and zone out? You know, you eat something because it smells good and you're not really hungry. So you want to think about what triggers you and try to avoid it for a while when you're trying to lose weight. It doesn't mean you need to necessarily do it forever. It just means that you need to make some changes for a short period of time, if not an overall behavioral change. So tips for healthy behavior: think about before you eat, am I really hungry? Do I really need that or that second helping? Do I even want it? Keep a journal. I know I just had some people roll some eyes at me, but I've had clients come in and say, this isn't working for me. And I'm like, let me see your food journal. They don't have it. I can't help you. If I don't know what you're eating, or if you don't know what you're eating, how do you know what's working for you, and how do you know what's not working for you? So to keep weight off, it is a 100% good idea, unless you have an eating disorder, for you to keep a food journal. And it doesn't necessarily need to be for a long period of time. It's just to make you accountable. It's just to help you see what's going on and to really understand your body, because it's going to take some time to find your baseline. I mean, there's some science to it, yes, but it is definitely individualized. So, and it helps to keep you motivated too. Some activity journals and apps, I'm sure you're familiar with some of these. I really love MyFitnessPal, and the Map My Run is one of my favorite ones too. So here's just a few of those, and then also activity trackers. It's a good idea. It helps to see, you know, if you're really a sedentary person, or are you moving around more than you think, or vice versa throughout the day. Then, you know, in the 10,000 steps a day, or 5,000 steps, whichever one you're hitting, I mean, it can be really challenging for people who sit in front of a computer all day. And then people who say that they run. I know of a client who sat in front of the computer most of the day but would get up and run in the morning. Then I have another friend who, or client who would up and down at the office, and they challenged each other as far as their steps. And the friend that ran every morning 5 miles actually ended up moving less than the friend that was in the office all day. So, just you want to keep track of actually how active you really are. So I throw this one back in here at you just one more time. I'm going to reiterate that keeping a journal is the best way for you to be accountable, and then more likely you'll be able to keep the weight off. And it'll help you lose weight too, and it helps your dietitian, nutrition counselor, and physician to look at what you're doing. They may pick out something that you had no idea was not healthy, or you may help them out. You never know. So tips for healthy behaviors: plan ahead. If you know you're hitting a challenging situation, you want to make sure that you've got a plan. Plan so you'll be less tempted. Eat something on the way, like an apple on the way to a baby shower, or or something on the way home from work, like something small, so that you're not starving or ravenous when you get there and have a tendency to overeat. Anticipate feelings. How will you feel if you miss a workout? How do you feel after your exercise? And how do you feel if you've had an extra piece of cake or an extra serving? Because sometimes those emotional triggers can be devastating to your goals. Again, with creating a healthy environment, make sure if there's something that triggers you in your house that you don't have it there. While you're trying to reach your goals, it's important to kind of put that away. Once you've gotten your goal and you've established some control, if you will, then slowly bring those back in a different type of way. But for time being, you probably want to try to keep those out of sight, or that have some healthier choices nearby, that sort of thing. I love this little alarm. Fitness killers don't snooze. So if your alarm clock goes off and you need to get up and go exercise, have some music on that thing. Have something that's going to spark you to remember to get up, go do this. Make healthy environment for yourself with like fitness experts, and keep your running shoes under your desk or at your front door, or sit them on your couch. If you have a tendency to sit down on the couch when you come home, put your shoes there. Just to remind yourself what your goals are. Adopt healthy eating habits. To portion out your food instead in the beginning. Try to skip your seconds. Bring healthier snacks. Don't bring any of the other ones. Avoid like the snack machines and stuff. Put your workout clothes in your car, or put them on before you leave work, and then hit the gym on the way home. So I just want to summarize some of this information, that fad diets are at best a temporary solution. So we know that cutting calories and extreme exercise is not the way to go. You need to fuel your body so your body doesn't think that it's in a starvation mode and it starts to work against you. So you want to make sure that you are getting enough calories to run your daily functions, and then you want to add in to compensate for the calories that you burned during exercise, so that your body will find that it's getting a balance and let go of stored body fat, because it knows that it will not need it for survival. That's basically what happens. So your health comes first, so don't cut corners. Don't do extreme weight loss just because you want that instant gratification right now. That 20 pounds lost in a month will be 40 pounds gained by the end of the year if you don't learn to change your behaviors. The 20 pounds lost in a year or less will probably stay off, because you're taking time to change behaviors that if you're 40 or 50 or 30 years old, how many years have you done what you've been doing? This is your behavior, this is your habit. So it's going to take a minute to change those habits. So don't cut corners. Give yourself time. Make a plan to succeed. You've heard failing to plan is planning to fail, and that can't be any truer statement than that. If you don't plan to eat throughout the day, if you don't have the food ready, if you don't have your workout clothes ready, if you don't make the time, then you're allowing yourself to fail. So if the first thing to do really and truly is to make the plan, sit down, make your plan out, and then prepare. So failing to plan is planning to fail. And lastly, again, I told you to hear it 1,000 times from me, everything in moderation, including moderation. You got to have some fun. You got to play a little bit. You don't always want to be dieting. Eventually what you think dieting is going to be your way of life. It's going to be your lifestyle because you've changed your behaviors. An actual diet plan won't even be something, it's just a way of life for you. So we just have to take some time. Give yourself a pat on the back for how far you've come. Give yourself a pat on the back for listening to the webinar, because you're taking the steps to get to where you need to get and to reach your goals and to get through all of these challenges. So again, everything in moderation, including moderation. So I haven't seen any questions, but if there's any questions right now, I'll take those. Okay, no questions? Okay, so here's the question for the night. So we got that $50 gift card to give out, and I really want to give it, and so somebody better get this answer right. I briefly mentioned this, but and see if you can answer it. Are your internal cues regulated physiological drive or by your psychological drive? So is it by your hunger cues or is it by your appetite? Your hunger or your appetite? Does anyone want to answer that? Okay, all right. Okay, we got an answer. Yes, both. It's both of them, right? Both, and they don't relate to each other. Yes. Okay, so sometimes they don't relate to each other, but both of these psychological and physiological drive regulate your internal cues. So, I mean, or what was regulate your internal cues. So good job. Yay. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. And if not, then we're going to go ahead and in the webinar. I just want to say thank you to Body Track and Steve for having me, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.